Hey guys, today we're going to make this simple dresser. Before we get started, I just want to say that if you don't have wood, you can also use cardboard, cardstock and paper. I started out by making a sketch of the dresser in the right size. Then using that as a guide, I drew the pieces for the sides, one for the top, a back side and a piece for the bottom. When I made this sketch, and also now when I make sketches for new pieces of furniture, I don't spend time calculating how much more or less space I need on some pieces for them to fit together. Instead, I just file the pieces down a bit as I go, if some of them don't fit perfectly. The wood I'm going to be using is basswood, and I got this from a local miniature store. Most miniature stores and craft shops that specialize in supplies for building models should have a selection of wood like this. I have boards that are 6 or 7 millimeters thick, and then a variety all the way down to 0.75 millimeters. I then cut out and transferred all the pieces to the wood and used my saw to cut it out. At this point, I hadn't cut out any pieces for the drawers except for the front pieces. As you can see, I just roughly cut out the different shapes, and I then used my electric file and a normal file to sand down the rest. Then begin gluing the pieces together. I first added the sides to the back piece, the front pieces and the top. Any glue made for wood will work for this. I also cut pieces off a skinny popsicle looking stick and glued these to the inside for the drawers to rest on. Using the front pieces for the drawers and the measurements from the dresser as a guide, I then cut and glued together the pieces for each of the drawers. You'll need 3 pieces in total for the sides and then 1 sheet of wood for the bottom. Lastly, I took a square strip of wood and marked off the 2 front legs or feet, then used my electric file and a craft knife to shape them. Glue the feet to the dresser and sand down any edges if needed. I then took some filler and went over some of the spaces or cracks before sanding down the surface. You can get this at any hardware store. If you want your dresser to look really neat or brand new, you will need to use a fine grit sandpaper or file. Paint it in any color of your choice. As most of you probably know by now, I prefer old or vintage looking things, so I didn't try to be too neat with the paint. And after the paint had dried, I used a file to sand it off some of the edges. To make the knobs, I cut a strip from this really thin sheet of copper and bent a piece of copper wire. I used my round nose pliers to make little tubes from the strip and glued them to the dresser like this. Finally, I added some patina to the knobs and some brown acrylic paint to the dresser itself.